Hola, amigos. Here is the Weird World Podcast. That's a bilingual podcast. No, it's not. You've exhausted my Spanish. ¿Dónde está? So, today, Carrie... Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, I'm Dean. I don't know if you were familiar with me.
Yep. He's Dean. I'm Carrie.
Carrie is going to tell us something a little bit strange. This is a story. You know, she doesn't like to do anything really supernatural or not. So don't expect that from her. But this is, I think I know the story. Often she...
Switches it up on you.
Yeah, she does. I don't think she did, but I think I'm at least familiar with the story superficially, and it's pretty strange.
Did you identify us as the Weird World Podcast?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for checking now.
I don't remember that part.
Carrie, start us off.
I got a story for you, Dean. It's in the old-timey times of 1954.
Okay. That does feel increasingly like old-timey times.
It does.
When we were growing up, old-timey meant probably at least the 1920s, if not the 19th century.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I wonder if Gen Z, what do they define the beginning of old-timey? That is the latest, the decade or whatever that feels truly just old-timey, weird, back and far off history.
Probably the 1980s.
No, I don't think so, because all the music sounds like the 1980s and 90s. How about...
Well, do you remember in the 70s, probably because of Happy Days, the 50s seemed like so long ago. It was 20 years.
I don't think that. Yeah, you're right. It did seem like anything before your life seemed like a long time ago, but it didn't seem old-timey.
Oh, it seemed very old-timey to me.
I think of old-timey as like just a different... They had cars, they had washing machines, you know what I mean?
Sure,
I think of old-timey as like, wow, your life was very different.
Oh.
That's what I think. And so I wonder what Gen Z or whatever thinks of that. They might think that the 50s, I don't know. But
wow, the 80s was very different to now in terms of conveniences and what they have and what we didn't have, right?
But I don't think it's like pre-internet or pre-cell phones as they think of it as old-timey. I think that's too relatively recent, but I don't know. Let's ask one. If we had one here, we'd ask one, but we don't.
Okay, well, we're not going to talk about any of that kind of stuff, really. We are going to talk about the Robbers Cave experiment.
From 1954.
From 1954.
Very good name. I like it.
I really like the Robbers Cave, too. However, this doesn't have anything to do with robbers or caves. But a man named Mustafa Sharif.
Okay, say that with a question mark.
Yeah, because I'm not sure about the first name, how you exactly
Let's go Mustafa.
pronounce it.
Wasn't that Simba's dad?
Mufasa.
Ah, damn it.
Well, this Sharif was from Turkey, and we could go into the whole Ottoman Empire and all that kind of stuff, but he grew up with lots of war.
Okay.
Time of strife. He ended up coming to the United States.
When was he? Like early
a young
1900s?
He was born in like 1905.
Okay. So he was a child when World War I made the Ottoman Empire a thing at the past. Okay.
He ended up coming to the United States, and he ended up at Yale. So he must have been pretty smart. And he became
the Bushes went to Yale, so J.D. Vance went to Yale. So
sure, but some young guy from Turkey probably didn't have a whole lot of connections getting him in.
That's true. Who knows? He could have been some very fabulously wealthy family in Turkey. They're always looking for people to go donate.
That's true. I don't know. But he became a social psychologist.
Okay, so he probably was not from a fabulously wealthy family.
And probably because of his early life and everything, he was a little bit preoccupied with war and social conditions and stuff like that. So concurrently, or actually late 19th century-ish, summer camps became a thing. Didn't know the history of summer camps?
That was that was that?
Late 19th century.
Oh, that long ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, wasn't Boy Scouting a big thing in England around that time, and around the turn of the century it became a,
probably
back to nature kind of thing.
Well, in the United States, there was a school teacher who thought that young men out of school on their summer holidays were really spending too much time being idle and influenced by their mothers.
Oh, they're getting soft. They become a mama's boys.
Instead of doing, constructive and productive manly work.
It's true.
So
and the dads were AWOL the entire day at work, then the bar. So
I didn't even
or their club.
get this guy's name because the story is not about him. But so this school teacher, who I find is probably very misogynistic, he set up the first summer camp, and it was more of like character building, back to nature, working hard, learning, constructive skills, that
like
kind of
tug
stuff.
of war, and I believe plaster fox prints.
I don't know.
I also believe rowing, and I want to say pantsing the nerd.
See, I think it was less of that. It was more probably like, let's build a cabin and, learn how to make a fire. And it seems as very much more back to nature and living off the land kind of stuff than canoeing and archery. And it wasn't just fun summer activities.
Kind of Boy Scouting. I think that's how Boy Scouting started too, but then they needed to have some reason to have something on the patches. So that's when they said, "Hey, we can have a canoe patch and an archery patch and a rowing patch and all that kind of thing." That's my theory of the evolution of the Boy Scouts. It's completely non-factually based.
Yeah, well, that was my least favorite thing about Girl Scout camp.
You went to Girl Scout camp?
One time in 4th grade.
That's early.
I hated it, and my mom signed us up for like the Mother Nature camp where we had to make our own meals.
Oof. Like you had to scramble your own eggs on a cook fire. Oh my God, that's brutal.
I was 10.
You could kill your own game and skin it.
I wanted hot dogs and hamburgers in the mess hall with all the other girls.
What did you eat?
I don't remember.
I'll bet you had hot dogs and hamburgers.
We got hot dogs the first night in the mess hall. And from then on, we were on our own. The
parents left. They closed the doors and say, "Now it really begins." Were the Mean Girls mean to you?
No, I was with my sister and my best friend.
Okay.
We shared a camp or a tent. We didn't get, I wanted bunk beds in a cabin. We didn't get that either. We had to sleep in a tent.
This is an abusive childhood you're describing at this point. This is a very, very unprivileged childhood that you're describing there. I mean, you didn't get a bunk bed, Carrie.
I know.
You're lucky to be alive.
Never went back, ever.
Still wanted to find out. In 5th grade, you put your foot down. I'm not going. I will run away into the mountains. I don't care. I still need to know what kind of food you ate. If it wasn't hamburgers, what was, they're not serving you possum stew. They're not catching raccoons.
We'll have to ask my sister. Probably whatever is simple for 4th grade girls to cook over a campfire.
I feel like that's bacon and eggs.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
Back to the Robbers Cave story. So in the 30s and 40s, psychologists kind of got interested in summer camps because they felt they were like natural laboratories of people taken out of, their city or normal society environments and thrust into, different group structures and, so they could go observe,
social interactions in a different environment.
Exactly.
I think they're right, aren't they?
And how groups form and all that kind of stuff.
They're absolutely right.
Sure they are. So they were using, so then they also kind of became interested in how they could use summer camps as a means to build a better society by teaching young people good leadership skills and conflict resolution and all that kind of stuff, which sure, I suppose.
And you do that through human experimentation. That sounds like a good psychologist to me.
So our pal Sharif, I'm going to use his last name.
Because you don't know if it's Mustafa or Mustafa.
Yeah, gets involved because at some point he's invited by some other researcher to observe kids' natural behavior in a camp.
Sounding creepy.
In a summer camp setting, because that's what they're doing. They're just observing, right?
We're just here to watch the kids.
Well, he found it interesting, but he thought,
we could drill holes in the tents and watch from outside unobserved.
I could use a boys' summer camp a little bit differently than these researchers are.
This is Sharif.
Okay.
All right. So he's not quite as passive as they are. They're just watching, seeing what happens. Let's check out what happens. Let's see how the kids interact. He's like, you know what? Let's help them along.
Well, he gets $38,000 in funding from the Rockefeller
It's like $14 million today, isn't it?
It's $430,000 today.
It's in the ballpark.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's some change.
So, 1954, Robbers Cave is a state park in Oklahoma named because it was supposedly the hiding place for Jesse James and Bill Starr and other outlaws. I don't know.
Oklahoma, for those of you who remember from the episodes about the, oh God damn it, the family that killed everybody. Damn it.
The Benders.
The Benders. Remember that Oklahoma was in the into 1907 was Native American territory. Took it away from it because they found out it had oil and gold and things like that. So they said, nope, ours now. And it was actually did have a long history of being sort of a no man's land and having very, very lax law enforcement.
Yes, I do recall that from the Benders episodes.
Okay, interesting.
Well,
so it makes sense.
So now there's a Robbers Cave State Park. And so in June of 1954, 12 11-year-old boys pull up in the big yellow school bus.
That's it?
They're from, at this point,
okay.
They're from Oklahoma City. And
big city.
They're there for a 3-week-long summer camp. Yay! Fun.
Urban, going from the sprawling urbanity of Oklahoma City in 1950 or the 1950s, population well over 10,000, to rural. Okay, what kind of is this like forested hill country kind of area? Do you know? It probably is.
Probably.
It's not real. Oklahoma doesn't have what we in California would think of as mountains, but they do have pretty rugged, hilly, forested.
I'm sure there's some
areas.
hills and lakes and.
Okay.
I do know it was hot.
Sure, in summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Oklahoma, again, for those of you who don't know, is pretty much right smack dab in the middle of the United States.
Yeah, and these boys didn't know each other before getting on the bus, going to camp, but they did really become good friends on the bus, which I could imagine on the ride to the park. And at first, these 12 boys had the entire park to themselves, or the entire, camp where they were. Mm. So they were having lots of fun, hiking, canoeing, swimming. And
do you have any idea what excuse they use? I'm assuming this was paid for and they were sort of given.
Yes, it was
trip.
free.
So I wonder hey, you won a lottery. I didn't remember Henry. No, trust us. You won this free camp trip. They must have had some
I'll
story.
talk about it a little bit later in more detail. But yeah, the kids were identified. Sharif wanted them all to be from a very similar background because they wanted to control for things like religion and family income and things like that. So they were all white, middle class, Protestant kids.
In the early days of experiments in social science, they did have, it's called matching, is before they really discovered that randomization was the way to go. And so they do sampling. So what they would try to do, rather than today, they would assign you to the experiment or the control group by purely randomization. Back then, they try to match. They would do exactly what you said. They tried, we want to control for those factors by matching to those factors and sometimes making them generalizable to the larger population. But at the very least, they control those factors like you just said that way. It's the pioneering days of social psychology.
Yes, which is what they did. So these boys had no idea how they were selected or why they were selected or that it was any certain kind of, they had no clue it was an experiment. They were just going to camp. And they were also kids while they were middle class, they did look for families on the lower end of the income scale so that they would be more apt to send their kids away on this free camp because they wouldn't normally have been able to afford it.
Still, that's the right way to do it, is because these days, most experiments, again, in the social sciences are what? College students who know full well they're doing something. They're told, they're almost always lied to about what the experiment is about, but they know something.
Yeah.
It's a not a very realistic environment. This is perfect because they don't know there's anything going on whatsoever. And it's just, we're going to a camp.
But this couldn't be done today.
No, probably not.
For other reasons.
It's too bad. I'm looking at this mostly from a methodological standpoint, and it's great.
But so anyway, this first group of 12 boys, while they're out frolicking and having fun, they see some snakes and they think, hey, let's come up with a name. Let's call ourselves the Rattlers. So this group, these 12 boys, are the Rattlers.
I like it.
So, like I said, these kids had no idea that they were part of this social psychology experiment. This is where I was going to talk about it. So let me see what else. We talked about this. Oh, the fact that, the parents initially got this, invitation hey, you've been selected for this camp. It was on University of Oklahoma letterhead. So it had kind of that air of authority and kind of respectability. And like I said, it was free. Oh, he emphasized in this letter that the idea was to learn leadership skills, and that it was to the parents. I think he did kind of mention it was to study leadership skills in kids, but not that it was, they never used the word experiment or anything like that.
So the parents knew their kids were going to be observed by the social psychologist.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I
do
think,
you know if they told their kids this? So the kids may have known.
No, the kids didn't know.
Okay.
They were.
So lie to your children.
Yes.
Okay. I like
And
this. It's the 50s.
The parents were also told, please don't come visit the camp because...
Again, that would be.
Could you
these
imagine
days,
today?
Hey, we're going to take your kids. We're going to give you kids a free camping trip. They will be observed. Do not visit.
Yeah.
That would
a bunch of little boys.
Yeah, that would be.
No thanks.
It would be an immediate investigation.
And the reason why they asked the parents not to visit was because they didn't want to encourage homesickness. They thought if the kids see their parents, they'll want to go home.
Okay.
And as you might imagine, there were no ethics review boards at this time, which exist now.
This is in the MK Ultra era.
Yes.
So now.
So the kids and the parents really didn't know that it was an experiment. And the staff at the camp, who were researchers, like research assistants of Sharif's, they would even read the outgoing mail that the campers were sending home because, They also wanted they wanted probably to see what the kids were writing, but they also didn't want any kid to write, "Hey, come get me," or "Please visit," or
okay. So
like
would
that.
they have intervened, or did they intervene if they found a letter that said, "Please come get me"?
I don't
can't
know.
Stay here. They rip it up.
Yeah, but they probably would have.
No, give me a letter, Billy. I'll make sure your parents get it. This is sinister. This could be made into a horror movie.
It sounds horrible.
You can make this very dark.
While the Rattlers were having a grand old time, what they didn't know was that there was a second group of 12, 11-year-olds at Robbers Cave State Park.
I thought you were going to say they're being dosed with acid.
No.
Sorry.
This other group were recruited just like they were. They were part of Sharif's little setup, and they were like a mile away on the other side of the park.
Different campground, completely different.
Yep, having their
supervisors,
fun.
whatever. Camp counselors.
And they coincidentally had named themselves the Eagles. So we've got the Rattlers on one end, the Eagles on the other.
That's intriguing because eagles eat rattlers,
Yeah.
I think. Did they have a camp counselor named? Did they both have a camp counselor named Randy who wore shorts a little too short for comfort, and sometimes you could see his balls when he sat down?
I have no idea.
I'm assuming that they both had that kind of a person.
So while they were each on their own side, the counselors would give them cooperative tasks to do, like cooking. They had to improve a swimming hole and then playing sports and stuff like that.
Cooking. It's a little surprising given the impetus for this camp thing was to not make the kids, more mama's boys. Back in those days, cooking was not seen as a manly endeavor.
Well, guys got to eat too.
Okay. All right.
So they had kind of bonded each of them into their own cohesive units, but they had different kind of group identities. The Rattlers were tough, brave, stoic, and cursed a lot.
Was this the description from the psychologist, or is this their own self-description of themselves? Do you know?
Oh, no, I'm sure it was from the researchers.
Okay, so they're observing them and they're saying these are their characteristics.
Yes.
Okay.
And the Eagles were caring, considerate, and cooperative.
Was there any manipulation to tend them toward one way or the other? You know what I mean? Was one group kind of like your camp hell from your nightmare in fourth grade, and the other group was treated a little more softly, or did they just naturally happen?
I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Around the fifth day, the groups are told, "Hey, guess what? There's another group of boys on the other side of the park."
So in 5 days, they're ready.
Yep.
Okay.
So they've bonded.
Yeah.
They're all pretty much friends and having a great time.
I mean, when you're an Eagle football.
Yes.
Okay.
And
they were sashaying. They had knives. They were in Queens or Spanish Harlem. I'm not sure.
The groups kind of immediately want to compete against each other, which is a good thing because this is exactly what Sharif wanted to happen. In fact, they had arranged for like a series of contests between the groups, and the winning team was going to get a prize. And Sharif believed that this competition would cause hostility between the groups.
I feel like little did he know is going to be said here at some point.
His theory was that prejudice and conflict arises between groups because they're competing for limited resources in society, in not normal, but in the general population
larger
of
society.
people.
This was his thesis, and he's trying to see this kind of writ small to prove out his hypothesis.
And he also wanted to prove that this hostility is reversible when you're no longer competing for limited resources, but groups have to come together to solve a common problem.
Okay, so they're like the Joker, and they locked it over 3 people and say there's one job, and what happens. Mustafa is the Joker in this scenario.
Yes. So like early on, the Rattlers claimed the baseball diamond as their territory, and they made a flag and hung it and made a sign that said, "Keep off." And they hung it on the backstop. And the adults had arranged for there to be 16 events over the next 4 days.
So in this case, though, it's this competition, these events, and some kind of a prize. It's not scarce resources, though. Correct?
No, but when you're 11.
What they should be doing is there's only enough water for one camp. The winner of this contest
gets the water.
The food and water. The other camp. Well, if they want to test scarce resources, they should be testing scarce resources, not just some kids' competition.
Well,
now this is my first methodological problem with the experiment.
Okay, well, so here's what the events are going to be. There's going to be 3 baseball games, 3 tug-of-wars, a touch football game, 3 tent pitchings. Not sure how fast can you pitch a tent, maybe?
Okay. Oh, so it's not waking up in the morning. Okay, got it. Never mind. How old are these kids again? 11. Okay. Well.
Daily cabin inspections, a contest of skits and songs. That was a little less objective.
I've got some soft shoe. I can do a solid 5 minutes. We're in. Let's do this.
And then a treasure hunt, which sounds like fun.
I can do a tight 5 minutes. Can I open up?
So the winners of the competitions we're going to get, I think it's of overall, not from each thing, I think.
Sure. So like they're accumulating points.
They were going to, they was going to be keeping points.
I like this. It's kind of like a Battle of the Network Stars scenario. Okay.
Yep. So the winners were going to get medals, which they were also going to get these special 4-bladed pocket knives.
That sounds safe. Yeah. And today it'd be an AR-15.
Oh, Lord. And the losers were getting nothing.
That's at least a little bit of scarce resources. That's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I still like denying them food and water, but fine.
Terrible. The groups quickly devolved into warring tribes. And on the base, so the first thing was going to be a baseball game. When they got there, they immediately started calling each other names and, being typical boys, I guess.
Say some of those names, Carrie. Go ahead.
I don't know.
What do you think they might have been?
I don't know. 1954?
I don't know. Oh, yeah.
What could they be?
You Red Fink? I don't know.
Probably.
More like 30s gangster. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. Well, the Rattlers won the first game, 16-14.
Oof. Ooh. High scoring affair.
Yes. So then back in the mess hall for lunch, they thanked God for their win. Mm-hmm. And then came the name calling, and the groups also sang derogatory songs about each other.
Wow, but they wrote original songs right there.
Probably made them up there on the spot. And then the Rattlers won the tug-of-war contest. That was that evening after, I don't know, whatever. And after they left the tug-of-war field, the Eagles took their flag. They went to the baseball diamond, took the Rattlers' flag and burned it.
Whoa.
This was like a declaration of war when you burn the Rattlers' flag.
That's
The next morning, there was actual physical fist fighting. Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Like a rumble.
Uh-huh.
Where?
And the counselors had to separate them. I don't know.
They
probably
meet
at
a
the
half
mess
mile
hall.
outside of each one.
Probably at the mess hall or something.
Oh, so they're together now?
They were brought together,
okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. But they're in their own tents plotting revenge against the
Probably.
opponents. And I love the idea of 11-year-olds having a rumble.
Yeah.
I hope there were shivs involved. I'm just...
They hadn't gotten their knives yet, so no.
No, but homemade stuff. Come on, man. They're resourceful.
Who's
got a toothbrush? Let me sharpen it.
The next baseball game and tug of war were both won by the Eagles this time. And that night, the Raiders or the Rattlers decided to raid the Eagles' cabin. Like after midnight, like super late at night, super scary. They came in wearing camouflage. I don't know what they did.
They put mud in their
Probably.
face. They got a bunch of bars of soaps and pillowcases and cans of Coke.
They came in
beating the shit out of them.
Hooping and hollering, entering through windows and stuff, scared the shit out of the Eagles.
Yeah.
They
should have been ready. Should have had a lookout.
Yeah, they weren't ready. They were overturning beds. They stole some kids' jeans. And when they went into the cabin, there was this big bright flash of light, which was probably also very scary for the boys.
Why? What was it? Flash bomb? They had flash bombs?
I don't know.
They had flash bombs.
So it was super scary.
Yeah.
The next day, the Eagles raided the Rattlers' cabin.
Wait, there was no response from that? From, Randy, the guy who wears 2 shorts and doesn't wear underwear and sometimes splices his legs and you can see his nuts. That camp counselor, they didn't say anything to the kids about what just happened. Were they, they weren't snitches? They didn't tell anyone? They just plotted revenge?
I don't know. You're asking questions that I'm going to answer later.
Sorry. Am I? Sorry.
We can cut that out.
No, that's not.
So the next day, or I'm guessing it's the next day or whatever, the Eagles raid the Rattlers' cabin when they're not in there. And they dump mud in it so that they'd fail their inspection.
Just mud.
Mm-hmm.
That's not very imaginative. I can think of other things they could have
done. When they went back...
Literally dumped there. And they didn't.
When they went back to their cabin, the Eagles, they filled their socks with rocks.
Nice.
So they'd be ready for when the Rattlers came back to retaliate.
These kids know prison life. They're ready.
Yes.
They're ready for the big house.
Yeah, I don't know. So it turns out the counselors were manipulating the scores in the contest to keep the competition really kind of close.
How do you manipulate tug of war? They trip a kid?
Well, they probably weren't manipulating that, but they could manipulate cabin inspection.
That's
they
true.
Could manipulate
the song and dance shows. No, sorry. You
songs.
weren't that funny. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, the baseball, they probably had an umpire, right? So it's some really bad balls and strikes. Today with major league umpires constantly.
Sure. Dean's got a beef there.
I do. Use the goddamn robot umps, you idiots. Now they're not going to use it this year, I've just found out. Or next year, rather. Just so annoying.
Sorry about that. So in the end, guess who won the overall competition?
Rattlers, the first team there. They're more prepped. They're more ready. They're harder.
Well, that's why they had the Eagles win.
What? Really? That's the reason they skewed it toward the Eagles?
They thought the Eagles would be devastated if they lost. And that they would just crumble completely.
Oh, because they're a bunch of mama's boys. And they were the ones who were made soft. Okay. The Rattlers, they were hard. They were tough.
They were a little bit more
it.
sensitive.
Okay.
Because it seems like maybe some of them were already feeling not so great about stuff that was going on, and some of them even wanted to leave.
Maybe their name should not be Eagles. Maybe it should be Little Bitches. Maybe.
Well, the researchers wanted to keep it going because they weren't done with their experiment.
They had 6 more grueling months planned.
They thought if some of the Eagles left, then it would ruin the whole thing.
It would.
Right?
You can't lose a lot of your experimentees.
So while the Eagles were out celebrating their win, local bar, I don't know where they went, but they were celebrating.
And soda.
And the Rattlers came and raided their cabin again. And they stole their medals and their knives.
They should have taken
war.
their knives with them. They should have taken everything with them. They should have expected that before they went to the local bar.
They should have. They're innocent. They overturned their beds, ripped up comic books. And
That's
then
going too far. Some of those comic books will be worth a lot of money nowadays.
I know. The last straw, they let their canoes loose in the lake.
Wow. What are you going to do? Swim out the 100 feet to get the canoes?
I don't know. I don't know how big the lake was. So when the Eagles got back to their cabin and they found the mess, they ran to the Rattlers' cabin and thus ensued another big physical fight.
I love this 1950s do-it-yourself. No one ran to Counselor Randy with the no underwear and short shorts. They ran to to confront their opponents.
Well, I think by this
Badasses.
point, the boys had learned these adults are not intervening to help us.
Randy does not give a shit.
Exactly.
We're on our own, people. Kids. It's just us.
Clearly, they weren't.
We're never going home.
So, but at this point, the counselors did have to intervene and basically separate the boys to stop the fighting. And then the next day, they kept them apart completely so that they could all calm down because everybody was super upset. So, and the boys hated each other so much that they were in the mess hall together and they were like hurling insults and having food fights.
Jesus.
This is exactly what Sharif wanted.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if he wanted, I guess he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
This is proving his point or
Yes.
something. Yeah, okay.
So at this point, now Sharif wants to show that these groups hate each other, but he wanted to show that he could get them to reconcile if they have to come together to solve a shared problem, right? That one group wouldn't be able to do on their own.
That's why today we have peace in the Middle East. Oh, wait.
Yeah. So they improvised a problem. All of the camp's water supply came from a reservoir, like on top of a hill or whatever.
I said, let's control the water.
So the next morning they announced, we're not getting any water. No water's coming out of our whatever pumps.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked for volunteers. Who will help us go up the hill to figure out what's going on with the reservoir up there? Turns out all the boys volunteered.
They need the expertise of a bunch of 11-year-olds. You guys know somersaults, canoeing, you've done a lot of tug of war, you can figure out a reservoir and water pump maintenance.
There were only 4 adults.
Jesus Christ.
At the camp. Yeah.
Good Lord.
There was like a caretaker guy and his wife there, but
he was old, he was curmudgeonly.
All the
He's seen
camp
it all.
staff I think they were doing the caretaker, like the wife made the food and stuff. But
did they Scatman Crothers him and chop him in the chest with an axe at one point? Tell me one of the kids is going to axe the custodian.
All the camp
Please.
staff was Sharif's researchers, so there were only 4 of them.
No, the caretaker. That's
No,
not
I know.
Okay, yeah, someone's got to put an axe in his chest at some point because he knows he's trying to help him.
This
That can't be allowed.
isn't a horror movie. This is
I'm going to make it one.
a social psychology experiment.
It's a little of both.
So anyway, all the boys wanted to help figure out how to get their water back because it's hot there at Robbers Cave State Park and they're
In the summer?
thirsty.
Yeah.
So at first it was kind of tense and they weren't getting along real well.
So how many kids are there? Is there 12 each?
Yeah,
So they're dragging 24 kids up the trail, up the hill to the reservoir?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Because again, they might need the expertise
Well,
in water maintenance of those kids.
it turned out that like rocks had fallen, in air quotes, on the line.
Yeah.
And so that's what was causing the water to not be flowing anymore.
They should have told the kids that, hey, it's all hands, so we're not going to have any water. Just throwing that out there. It's too late now, obviously. In hindsight.
So anyway, the boys eventually figured out, they were each like going up lugging a rock and going, getting it off. And then they figured out, if we form a line of boys up, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
They figured it out.
I get you.
Requiring cooperation.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the boys had canteens with water in it because they had already filled them before the water stopped flowing or whatever. But some of the kids didn't. And so as they had been working together and becoming a cooperative unit, the boys with water in their canteens were kindly offering it to the boys who had none.
And were did they? I guess they couldn't have made sure that there was a mixture. In other words, some kids on each team had and did not have water, because then they'd have to. Or were they just offering to their waterless brethren, or were they offering across?
They were offering it across
teams. Okay,
across teams.
That's nice.
Don't know if any of that was manipulated by.
I wonder
the researchers, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Like they could have put them in the line and somehow made sure it went eagle, snake, eagle, snake, eagle, snake, eagle, snake, and I don't know.
Yeah. Or just making sure only the Rattlers canteens had any water left in it.
Yeah.
So
that would require them sneaking in and pouring out or filling canteens. That would have been weird.
Yep. So that was the first problem that they had to solve together.
Okay.
Another one was they were going to rent a movie. I don't know how hard it was to rent a movie in 1954.
They rented movies in 1954?
Yes.
There wasn't even a blockbuster.
It had to be like the reel,
film,
like the actual film reel. And I forget, there was like a choice of two movies. I forget what they were. Oh, I think the one they chose was Treasure Island. Okay. Everybody wanted Treasure Island. And it was going to cost something like $15.
Oof.
And the camp staff said, we don't have the budget for this. We don't have enough money.
$4,000.
But I guess these kids had money. So each group came up with $3.50. So together,
so $7.
The boys all came up with $7.
Okay,
and they were able to raise the money that they needed to pitch in.
The other $8.
Yep,
nice.
So they got that, and then the third thing was a truck delivering food to the camp had stalled on the way.
Sure, it had.
It couldn't have been too far away. Because the boys ended up pulling the truck.
Pulling the truck? Not really.
The truck.
How do you pull a truck?
Well, like they attached a rope.
Yeah.
And all 24 boys.
Oxen?
It was like a big old tug of war.
Oxen? Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's probably why they had them do tug of war, so they could
hone they had those skills, those rope pulling skills. I think it's probably a little different, but that's fine.
Yep. So they did that too. So at this point,
they yoked them. The brakes give out. 11 kids are run over and killed.
So while the boys didn't instantly become best friends, they were cooperative, and there was more friendly mingling and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And they were willing at this point to give each other credit for, jobs well done and all that kind of stuff. And then at the very end,
romances bloom?
No. And then in the very end, the Rattlers volunteered to buy malted milks for the entire group.
What? Were the Rattlers the rich kids? I thought you said they were kind of lower economic. How did they afford that? Did they sell their 9? Wait, they didn't win.
No, the Eagles won.
All right, Rattlers.
So Sharif had proved what he thought he was setting out to prove.
More or less. Kind of.
Well, he wrote his study up into a book, and it was published in 1961. And became a landmark social psychology study.
What was it called?
I don't fucking know.
Oh, come on, man.
But it was called Brilliant, a Modern Classic, Unparalleled, and Genius. It basically showed that the premise of the book, The Lord of the Flies, which came out
not long before this, right?
Late 1954.
Oh, it was that recent. I thought it was a couple of years old at least. Huh. Really?
Yeah.
So was this in the planning stages before that book was out?
I'm sure, yeah. Oh, I know it was. Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
Great timing.
Yeah.
By Fielding? What was his name? William Fielding?
Yeah. No, William Golding.
Golding.
I mean, basically, he thought that people were evil, right?
Yeah, he did.
And that
it devolved.
It was natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sharif thought that the fighting wasn't due to something inherent in human nature, but it was because society forces us to compete for
scarce resources.
Yeah. And that's what causes it. However, Sharif's report wasn't really the full story of his experiments.
What? Cheating in academia?
1954 wasn't the first experiment that he did along these lines with the Rockefeller money.
Ooh.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Is that what I said?
Was there a cover-up?
Well, I don't know if that's what you would call this, but he actually did 2 earlier studies.
What?
The first one was in 1949 in Connecticut. And this one was basically just like let's try this out and see how it goes. It
Yeah.
was. I don't think this was necessarily supposed to be his main study,
Uh-huh.
but
Little
still,
pilot study. See
Yeah.
how it goes. Ended in horrific bloodshed.
didn't.
Chimps ate faces. This is Connecticut. After all, it was gruesome. It was not.
Well, in the original 1949 one, it was real quick, and because he found he could produce the group conflict, but he couldn't get them to cooperate. They hated each other.
So it was more
And-
Lord of the Flies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So he stopped that one early on.
Hmm.
And then,
Yeah, because it wasn't going his way.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's
And then-
sleazy.
So 1953 was the second one.
Mhm.
I don't know why it took so long.
To recover from the first one, to convince the Rockefeller Foundation to give him more money, because they're going, ooh, that didn't go well.
He didn't tell them.
He didn't tell him how to end it. He just goes, no, you know what? I just ended it. I wasn't feeling good about it. Some kids got sick.
He probably didn't tell them anything about it.
Outbreak of cholera.
So in 1953, they made the mistake of allowing the boys to be all together from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. You can't. How are you going to get group conflict if you're all together from
Yeah.
the beginning?
So what they did was, all the boys were together in one camp, and the researchers, they had like 12 researchers that time, and they were observing them to see which boys became friends. And then when they said, okay, now we're going to separate you into two groups, they made sure to separate the friends, which
Seems counter.
I know.
So,
Well,
yeah, that's
this was
odd.
one of their mistakes.
Yeah, that's a pretty dumb mistake, given what
Mhm.
their hypothesis was. That makes no sense.
Yep. And the staff was very manipulative this time as well. So they separated the groups, and then the staff would do things like go into the cabins and steal clothing and cut up one of the group's flags. They were trying to start the fights between the kids. They crushed one group's tent. They threw the kids' suitcases into the bushes.
They wore hoods and beat the shit out of Billy and blamed it on Scott from the other team.
And they broke one poor kid's ukulele.
Oh my God. And he was
Yes.
from Hawaii.
When one team lost at tug of war, they weren't upset. They said the other team was just better than us. They deserved to win.
They weren't sore losers. This is not working.
Yeah. And when the clothes were lost because the researchers threw them in the bushes, they didn't blame the other group. They said, oh, there must have been some kind of mix up with the laundry.
Was it because, or they determined that it was because there was some kinships between them? I know Scott and hey, Bill, don't you know Kevin?
Yeah.
And those guys are good guys. We were friends with those. They
yes.
couldn't have done those
Because
things.
they already knew the kids.
Yeah.
So
you need
yes.
distrust and unfamiliarity
Yep.
to breed this kind of group conflict.
And when one group's cabin was vandalized, the kids got together to talk about it, and the other group swore it wasn't them. We didn't do this. They believed them.
It's a good point. They have a good case. let's just settle this amicably.
So while
like
these are 11-year-olds thrust into this outdoorsy environment, right? Be wild, all that kind of stuff. These were pretty smart kids.
Yeah.
They started growing suspicious of
They
the camp
caught on.
counselors.
Nice.
And even got to the point of accusing them of manipulating them.
Love it.
They said, is this an experiment? Are
Oh
you
my
trying
God.
to see how we'll
No.
react?
They really said literally
Yes.
experiment.
Is this an experiment?
Was that? I'm trying to think. How common did the
I know.
population know about experiments?
Mhm.
I mean, I guess there had been. There'd been a
Yeah.
lot of experimentation during and after World War II.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So they basically couldn't get them to fight
Hmm.
enough to then have to, manipulate some reason for them to come together.
So they dosed him with acid and abandoned him in the forest, right?
No, they
Damn it.
aborted the study.
You can go home. You guys are not cooperating.
Yeah.
Are not cooperating, and we don't like it.
There's an Australian science historian named Gina Perry who got a hold of all of the research notes
Mhm.
from this stuff. And I think originally when she started looking into it, she thought it was just going to be the Robbers Cave experiment.
Hmm.
But when,
So his notes going back with the other
yeah,
experiments.
because the previous two, the 49 and 53
Oh.
camps, were never written up into
Just
anything.
in original note form.
Yeah.
Thank God for record keeping.
Yeah. So she got all of that kind of stuff, and she ended up tracking down some of the boys.
Hmm.
And
When was this?
When did she do this?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Like
but
decades later, or
oh yeah, like very recently.
oh, wow.
Yeah, she was talking to old men in their 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they would have been born like 1940-ish, a little bit after.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's written a book called The Lost Boys.
Those are vampires. So I'm a little confused what's happening here.
But I would kind of want to read it. But her name is Gina Perry. She's Australian. So she did talk to some boys from the, I don't think she found anybody from the 49 study, but she found some from the 53 and the 54 study. And she also talked to some of the researchers. So think about how old they were.
Wow, 412.
And
maybe they were vampires.
One boy from the 1953 study said it was a crazy study run by crazy people trying to make the boys fight with each other. And that we basically had to cooperate with each other because we were looking out for ourselves.
Damn.
Because we didn't feel like the adults were doing anything.
Billy, you going to let him get away with that? You just called you? Huh, you're a pussy. Okay, if you want to just let him, okay.
And she found, like in the researchers' notes, I guess they were having nightly meetings during the 1953 camp. And the researchers kind of devolved into arguing about the ethics of what they were doing. They were manipulating the kids.
Ironically, the kids were experimenting on the researchers. It was the researchers who exhibited the group conflict and started arguing with one another.
Well, ironically, it was the groups were the kids versus the researchers. Really? That was the conflict. Really? And so one assistant...
Which makes sense. If the bad things are happening to you, you do often blame the people in authority.
Yeah.
Right? So that would be the councils and the erstwhile councils. Right? In this case, they didn't know they were literally researchers. They were just people who worked for the camp. Okay.
Yeah. And the kids who maybe didn't like each other because we were competing, but we're going to band together. Right? So Sharif didn't figure that one out. So one of the research assistants said he thought they were going too far in manipulating, that this isn't how you conduct a study. We're supposed to observe the natural behavior of the kids, whereas we're influencing them. We're trying to make them do things and make them respond to what we're doing. And so from then on, Sharif excluded that guy from the meetings. Okay. He wasn't allowed to come. And he probably wasn't there for the Robbers Cave experiment. So, the Robbers Cave write-up was very well received and it seemed to get the result that he wanted. But here were some of the things that he omitted from his report. Early on, when the groups were separate, but they knew that the other one existed, but it was right before they were brought together. The kid, I don't know which group, one of the groups had a birthday. And so the caretaker's wife made a birthday cake, and they were going to have a little celebration in the mess hall. And they were, singing songs, having a great time. They knew the other group existed and said, hey, we got enough cake. Why don't we invite those other boys to come have some cake with us?
She made a big ass cake. Jesus.
Researchers said, no, this is just for you guys.
Okay.
So this tells you that the boys didn't immediately say, hey, we hate those guys on the other end of the park, right? And then when the boys were told about the competition, there was going to be a competition between the two groups. One kid said, maybe we could just make friends with those guys. Kind of like, do we have to compete? Can't we just have fun? Kind of, attitude. And they didn't really fight about the competition. They were fighting more about the cabin raiding and the flag burning and the medals being stolen. It wasn't so much, we hate you because you beat us at baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's still conflict, what you're describing. So
yes, but that conflict was very much egged on and manipulated by the researchers.
The researchers didn't there was no research or intervention in them deciding to raid opposing cabins, though, right? They didn't like, hey, I have an idea. I don't know. I'm just throwing this. I'm spitballing, but maybe you guys.
I think there was, because you asked me what that bright flash of light was.
And
a researcher was with them.
What?
And he was trying to stay hidden, but I think the Rattlers knew he was with them. It was his camera. He was taking pictures.
Oh.
Yeah.
Of the mayhem. Nice.
And
so I wonder if they did just slightly suggest, here's an idea.
And even if they didn't, the kids know, the adults are seeing everything we're doing, and there's no ramifications for it. So we can do whatever we want. We're not going to get in trouble. In fact, they kind of seem to like it.
From an experimental standpoint, that's probably okay. That they're not, because they're just trying to see if they're all in the real world. That would more or less be true. States do terrible things and are rarely punished for it.
It's also not normal camp behavior. You expect counselors to try to teach the kids lessons and about what they're doing and how to behave properly and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And also, after one of the raids, when the first time I think the Rattlers raided the Eagles' cabin, the Eagles went, you asked. So the next day they dumped the mud. You asked, wouldn't they just go to the adults? Yeah, they did. And the adults said, "Nah, we don't care. We're not going to do it.
You're on your own, punks."
The kids were suggesting punishments.
Really?
For the Rattlers. And the researchers said, "No, we're not going to do
anything. Were you to go retaliate, I'm not saying that it would be any repercussions for that either, but that's entirely up to you."
The boys thought that it was unfair that there weren't any prizes for the losers in the end. You know, they probably thought we're all out here doing our best.
Participation awards.
Yeah.
Very popular now.
Yeah. So see, guys.
Yeah.
Kids expected them in the 50s too.
It's not just orange slices and Capri Suns, all right? Give them a ribbon.
After baseball games, the winning team would volunteer 3 cheers for the losers.
Wow. And they said losers, though, with kind of a, They did show good sportsmanship. Now in the kids' baking competition, they say the less successful effort is what it typically is. Not the loser, the less successful. The slightly less. They're all successful, but this one that isn't edible is less successful.
Well, in the end, the boys were all just glad that the fighting was over. And in the very end, the Eagles, who were the winners, gave 3 cheers for the Rattlers. And then, as we know, the Rattlers bought malted milks for everybody.
Milks, yeah. Which sounds delicious.
So Sharif, through the entire thing, he kept fanning the flames of the fighting. Because he didn't want any spontaneous reconciliation between the boys until they could do the shared, we got to cooperate to get the water back kind of stuff. So in Gina Perry's book, she tracked down and interviewed a bunch of the boys. Like I said, the 1953 boys figured it out. So they knew this was, we were being manipulated. The 1954 boys had no idea.
So they didn't read the book.
Nope.
It was an obscure.
There's no reason why they would. They weren't identified.
No.
Obviously.
Well, if they had, they certainly would have known this was about them, I'm sure. But
who's going to read this?
Sociological academic publications. Yeah.
No. And clearly none of their parents did either. So when she tracked down some of them, they had tons of questions for her. She said, here they get this letter from this Australian researcher saying she's writing a book about this experiment they were involved in as a child. And they're like, what the heck are you talking about? They had no idea they were even part of an experiment. So she met with some of them and they were asking her questions like, how the heck were we recruited? How did they convince our parents to allow us to do this? And some of them thought, it's an experiment, like it was some sort of test that they were being tested and they wanted to know how they did. Yeah. But so Gina Perry's conclusion was that it wasn't really just to test Sharif's theory, that it was basically he choreographed the whole thing. And
he already had 3 strikes, and he was out. The Rockefellers were going to say, we're done.
The adults encouraged the hostility and the fighting. Respect and fairness were discouraged. Cursing and bullying and cheating and fighting were rewarded. So in his write-up, Sharif made it seem like they were just observing natural behavior as it unfolded, but even the researchers admitted later on that they were really egging on the boys' bad behavior.
Yeah. So they probably did suggest or imply something about the raids and things like that.
And in his book, where he was talking about the physical fight over the stolen knives, and he was depicting it as proof of his theory that normally upstanding, fair-minded 11-year-olds could turn into brutal savages. He said, an observer coming across the scene would never have known that these disturbed, vicious, wicked youngsters
Oh, my Lord.
were actually boys who were the cream of the crop in their communities.
Okay.
So,
In truth, he'd recruited them out of reform school.
yes.
Wait, yes, he did?
Oh, no.
Okay.
It's terrible. No,
Yeah.
I don't know where they, I mean,
I'm sure they
just
were
came from normal. Yeah.
Yeah, normal
Middle-class
normal
schools, but-
kids, and
Yeah.
they became vicious savages.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess Gina Perry is, she's a science
Writer.
writer.
Mhm.
And she said when she went to school, she never, in her psychology classes, she never read anything about the Robbers Cave experiment. But when her daughter went to school, it was listed. I mean, it was included in some of her classes. So it's not like one of those,
Forgotten.
most famous
Okay. Yeah.
studies like the Milgram study
Yeah.
or, some of the other ones. But
It predated those a little bit.
yeah,
and
she said it basically just depends on who your teachers are
Huh.
and if they want to include it in their class or not. So
Well, now they almost all of those ones too. It turns out some of
I
the
know.
perceptions of those,
Yeah.
what really happened, is not completely true.
I know. Well, now with her book, it should probably be written up quite differently in the textbook.
Yes, this instance in particular should have a very different veneer to it. And it does not
Yeah.
prove group conflict hypothesis
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, yeah. It's not to say that kind of hypothesis isn't true. It's just that he had to go to manipulative
Right.
means
Yes.
to make it true and to make it happen. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, interestingly, she talked a little bit about William Golding,
Mhm.
who wrote Lord of the Flies. He was a teacher at a boys' school, I think, in England.
Mhm.
And what he did was he took a group of boys out, I don't know, somewhere in England,
Mhm.
some remote area, Where-
Suffolk, I think.
where there was some sort of
I'm joking.
structure. Where'd you say?
Southward.
Oh.
South London. So no, probably not.
Yeah, no, I don't know. where.
Or maybe.
And I don't know
Manchester.
how old the boys were, but they were young boys. And so he, divided them into groups. And one group, he said, your job is to defend this structure. I'm imagining some old stone, fortress or something, crumbling
Mhm.
ruins. And the other group of boys, you guys are supposed to raid it. And so I think he wanted to observe their behavior and use, get ideas for the Lord of the Flies.
Mhm.
And he said he was surprised at how seriously they took these, made up roles that
Yeah.
he made up for them. But
Yeah. Well, that's the Milgram things that have when
Yeah.
people fall into positions of
Yeah.
authority, they abuse it.
yep.
So that, which is a
So-
different hypothesis than the group conflict thing, although the Golding thing and this story were more the kind of group hypothesis dynamic,
Yeah.
I suppose, right? Not the authority thing.
No. And Golding's theory was they'll become savages
Mhm.
and, do horrible things.
Yeah.
I don't know what they actually did to each other, but anyway.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to know. That's an interesting story, Carrie.
Thanks, Dean.
The Robbers Cave experiment.
Mhm.
So is it considered is it still considered when it is spoken of, is it thought of as how kids do terrible things and group conflict is inherent, or is it thought of as a screwed up experiment that wasn't what it said it was?
I don't really know.
I guess it's a little bit of both
Yeah.
in a sense, isn't it? You know what it is? It's weird.
It is weird.
So thank you for bringing it to our weird world listeners. Appreciate it.
It's also pretty clear this could not happen today,
No, it would never happen today.
which is
For a
probably
lot of ways.
a good thing.
I don't know. I think things should be a little bit loosey goosey.
No, you
loosen
don't.
it up.
No, you
Come on,
don't.
man. People got to find out. We need answers. Well, thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome, Dean.
Appreciate that. I guess that wasn't one of our, kinder, gentler episodes. That was.
I think it was.
I don't think it was, but it wasn't. No, but you're right. It wasn't anything about murder.
There was
or
no
mayhem.
great damage done.
No, I suppose not. Just to their psychology.
No, and I don't think any of the boys had any.
Lasting effects.
Yeah.
So hope
Uh-uh.
not. I hope not.
Nope.
Billy still had nightmares up into the 60s, so we'll see. All right. Thank you, Carrie. Until
Thanks.
next time.
You're welcome, Dean.
See ya.
Thanks for listening, everybody.